I'm Kathleen Cannett, and I'm here to enable and to give the Pax Christi Metro New York Women of Peace the award of Peacemaker of the Year to Betty Reardon. And I also have the honor of saying a few words about Betty Reardon. So here we are together honoring Betty Reardon, a woman of great intelligence, energy, and stamina, and who, for me, is surely, of all educators, that she has been the greatest guru and most instrumental for the growth of peace education in our world. And that is a mammoth undertaking, and it's a mammoth event. In her span of over 90 years, Betty has lived out the life of a person of peace. Her friends and colleagues know and love her and are grateful for her presence. Her insights and analysis are often sought. Her teachings and writings are now being preserved at the University of Toledo. And in her writings and in all her teachings, in her conversations, in the organizations that she has begun, really indicate the honor to be the foremost educator for peace education in the past 50 years. Betty is the founder of the International Institute on Peace Education graduate program at Teachers College, Columbia University. Early in her life, Betty analyzed the relationship between militarization and sexism, which became the subject of one of her early books and a continuing focus for her. Some years later, Betty was one of the main initiators of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on peace, women, and security, which demands that women be present at all levels of making peace, especially at the peace table after violent conflict. I recently had a conversation with Betty about this and said it seems that this is the day, this is the time to try to make that resolution meaningful. And maybe making it meaningful means that we have to pursue that it even exists, that there is a UN resolution. There is a commitment by all of the countries in the world that when ceasing of violence stops between people, that women will be sitting at the table negotiating the peace. Watch television to see how absent that seems to be. Betty's work was also recognized by the Nobel Peace Prize when she was nominated with many other women for such an honor in 2005. Now, today, we here, Pax Christi, Metro New York, are honoring Betty as the Peacemaker of the Year. And now I'm going to hand this over, and maybe you could show the picture again of our presentation there. Thank you very much. And Virginia will read the citation that we are giving to Betty. And then Betty will have an opportunity to respond.
On the plaque that Betty is receiving, there are two images. One is of St. Joseph, and the other is of Mary of the Cosmos, so Mary of our world. And this is what's printed in the middle. Betty, as peace educator par excellence, you have shared that over the years, you have thought of peace education as learning to craft a peaceful and just society by envisioning it as a carpenter might envision a completed work. Then, using all the skills involved to bring it into being. In that, you and Saint Joseph share a common bond. But you also see peace education as flowing from a kind of spiritual development, a consciousness that we are all one with each other and with Earth, born of the cosmos. This consciousness, you believe, will help us renounce violence and embrace a mutual and loving relationships. In that, you find connection with Our Lady of the Cosmos. Together, the carpenter and the cosmos contribute to a more complete form of peace education, one that enables the carpenter to craft a more peaceful world built on the realization of our oneness across sex, politics, and every other force that tries to divide us. Thank you for helping to nurture generations of peace builders through your teaching, writing, and speaking. We are privileged to honor you.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ginny and Kathleen. Thank you for that introduction and for all the years of support and solidarity. And thank you, Pax Christi, for this award, which to me is a tangible connection to the kind of work that I have put my work into helping people to do. The work of peace in every space of our lives, from our silent individual prayers to the cry against nuclear weapons. It's all part of Pax Christi, in which I see both the carpenter and the cosmic. I want also, as did Nancy, make a dedication of this award. And I want to dedicate it to my 6 great nieces and nephews. One, Vanna Thorne, is on this Zoom, and to their whole generation, because it is in that generation, their vision and their action to enact the vision, that I find the greatest hope, and in which I find the true meaning of learning to become human by being with other humans in this long journey of life. Rosemary had asked me to speak to my journey in peace education, but that journey has been very long, and time is short. Time is short in the 5 minutes that I have to make these remarks. Time is short at 92 for the time I have left on the planet. And time is short for all of us to save this planet, as Nancy called us to. As a peace educator and as a thinker, I have always tended to think in terms of concepts of three. I also found that they were easier for students to remember. Maybe because I was brought up as a Trinitarian, but I often see realities in terms of three large concepts that I can converge into one. That certainly should be familiar terminology and conceptualization to Pax Christi. So how do we use this short time? And again, I would focus on a word that Nancy used, transition. And I think Karen Armstrong often uses that term. I mean it in a somewhat different way. It has three meanings, but I'll spare them all. Transition I see as the process through which we are involved in the unfolding of the creation and are becoming conscious of that unfolding as the change in life from day to day. And the degree to which we enter into those changes to make them consistent with the values of peace and justice that we espouse makes us co-creators. And we are at this moment of time called to fulfill that function. So the theme of transition is the theme of this 5 minutes. It is the focus of action for me, for my remaining years. And it is what I advocate for the field of peace education in this current phase. Transition, in the terminology of world order studies that I was brought up in, means those policies and actions which will change the war system into what we now call a human security system. It is asking the question, how do we get from here to there? And from here to there, we know, is a very bumpy journey. So it behooves us to think not only of where we want to go, not only of what we want to leave behind, but how are we going to make that journey? What are the way stations? What is the route? What are the particular policies which will see us through this period of transition? And that is the inquiry, which I hope will become paramount in peace education for the next decade, maybe. It's hard to tell. I've always tried to practice peace education by looking forward to see, where are we? What do people now understand? Where can we move to advance and deepen the understanding? And where can we move toward an understanding which helps us make the practical change we need to survive? Because survival is in not only the vision, but it is in how we think, how we learn, and how we act on that thinking and learning. So let me put, as a peace educator, let me put forward 3 central problematic concepts that involve action, to which I would call all of us to use as guidelines for thinking about this transition. These are concepts, these are tasks, but mainly they are processes for us to enter into. And they're also 3 and easy to remember because they all start with D. Decarbonize, decolonize, demilitarize. When I say decarbonize, I'm talking not just in terms of the marvelous space that Nancy presented to us. I'm talking about how we live day by day. I'm talking about the subjects of our letters to the editor. I'm talking about how we get people to vote in corporate board meetings. As we take those actions, we have to have this overall concept in mind. The concept, if we keep it there, will push us forward and help us to see not only the problems, but the possibilities of what can be done. When I talk about decolonize, of course I mean a just solution to problems such as those playing out in Palestine, Israel today. But I also mean the decolonization of our whole political and economic system, and the decolonization of the mind that made it possible for some of us to think that we had the right to colonize other people. Those are all aspects of the learning that should be integral to peace education. And when I speak of demilitarization, of course I'm talking about disarmament. I'm talking about troop withdrawal from military bases. I'm talking about economic conversion from war to peace production. But I am also talking about transcending the fundamental system that produced militarization, patriarchy. And patriarchy informs every single institution of our lives. It's a fact, believe me. I will give you chapter and verse on that one, but it brings me back to 2 things. One, relationships and how personal, political, work relationships are all informed by how we see others. And if we value all others as made in the image of God, no matter who or what, and we know that we are all equal in God's sight. So one way to do that is what Kathleen suggested, to work on educating people about Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security, and to asking ourselves every day in every human interaction, who do I see? What is my relationship to that person? How are we mutually part of this one creation? And how can we help the carpenter to build a better structure for us to live in that creation? So the future is now. That's why I know I have a long future in spite of the limitations of time. And I am thankful to all of you for what you are doing to make the future, for being here, present now, and celebrating with you how we can make the future what we want it to be. Thank you all very much.